Knowing what your intention is, your soul already knows exactly what that is. You don't have to create it in your mind because that's from the lower self, thinking that it knows. Your mind thinks that it knows, your ego, I should say, that lower self, thinks that it knows what's best for you and what it needs to look like to be in your highest and best to bring you what you desire. But your soul knows better. It knows the shortest path, the best path, and exactly what that is for you. And not only for its development, but for you, for your best and highest alignment, regardless of whether or not you have any idea what that is. Hey there, Alex here. Welcome to another video here on Love and Waves. I want to talk today about manifesting a little bit more from the heart, from wholeheartedness. I've done a video already about manifesting in the 5D. I talk about wholeheartedness. I've talked about all kinds of different ways of balancing moment to moment, but I want to bring this kind of together for you here today as to why are we doing this? Why? What is this about? So there's a part of us that, I think I've been sharing this a bit too, that understands and is either consciously or unconsciously really embracing that we are on this spiritual awakening journey right now. Some people are choosing not to be, but it's happening in general, that this is an open window right now, a huge window for what's called ascension. We are ascending the frequencies, we are ascending in so many different ways back into soul, from a lower self into a higher self. And manifestation changes in this. So in one way, we are becoming more and more aware of that. And in other ways, we have already been very aware of really all the time wanting and seeking more in order to feel better, in order to enhance our lives. So whether that's in the realm of relationships or in work that we do in the world or in our health, or those are kind of the main three areas, or really anything in between, there is a pull to always increase and grow and expand. That's natural. And the ego wants to grow, and your soul also wants to grow. The soul is right now wanting to embody within you, and thus is wanting anything unlike itself to push out of you. And the ego is wanting to stay alive and therefore wants to hang on to all of the structures and the beliefs and the things that are keeping it safe and feeling unchanged, because it only knows what it knows from experience, and its job is to keep itself alive. And we have misidentified ourselves as the ego. Therefore, we believe we're going to die if parts of our beliefs and this ego structure starts to crumble. So these are the two sides. And so when I talk about that wholeheartedness and I talk about that moment-to-moment balancing, it's really the ego and the soul that we're dealing with, right? It's one or the other in a sense. And so we always have that free will choice to either go with the soul or go with the ego. Now, this conversation is more about manifesting. So the way that we've manifested in the past has largely been from the ego and from the mind and emotions and from the lower self, the smaller self, the dimensions 1, 2, 3. So utilizing, of course, the subconscious, the mental and emotional bodies of those first three, densities or dimensions, I should say. Now, as we move into soul is when we're going into dimensions 4, 5, 6. I talked about this last week. So in 4, 5, and 6, this is the soul level. And then above that is the oversoul, and so on and so on. But basically, we are a soul stream, and we are all multidimensional. But we've been pretty locked into this one dimension, and we think that we are this body and this mind. So as we're moving into realizing we are more than that, and as we move up past the courage level of the scale of consciousness, this is when the etheric body is born, the etheric brain, I should say, comes online. And this is when you're moving into that fourth dimensional level and moving then, of course, into fifth and sixth, where that embodiment and that connection to that higher self starts to really come online and draw you up. So the difference in manifesting from the lower self and the higher self is one is pushing out and controlling, and the other one is drawing in and magnetizing and being with it. So one is doing, the ego, and one is being, the soul. So where you put your attention, of course, is where you put your energy. And that is actually a push forcing energy. So when you put your attention outside of you, you are putting your energy outside of you. Most of the time, the ego, the small self, is looking outside of itself in order to create. in order to decide what it wants and to then go and get it, and to then hang on to it and get attached to it because it's now attached to that happiness and safety. And then we have to control it so that we don't lose it. So it begins with a sense of lack. I don't have this thing. I don't feel safe without it. Therefore, I need to create something. Here's the thing that I want and I desire. These are all lower on the consciousness. And so we start to create that what we want. And then we start to put our attention out there for that, to create it, to manifest it. And then we have to hang on to it and we become attached to it. So now we, like I said, we now get to control it and manipulate it and make sure everything around it is keeping it in place. And now we have to manipulate the people. And again, all of your life is now like this big game of keeping everything just right for you to be happy and fulfilled. And we're looking for these things in again, the areas of our relationships and our businesses, or the work that we do, or the purpose, actually the purpose comes online with soul, by the way. Talk about that another time. But having some sense of meaning or something going on in our lives. And then of course, with our health, right? And we might have our health falling apart. We want to change that. So we're doing all of this outside stuff. That's the smaller self. So we're dealing with the lower three chakras, that sense of lack, and then attachment, and then control. So then we've got the other way that we can go with soul and with soul embodiment. So as we begin to actually do the opposite of grabbing hold of things to feel safe, and we start to actually let go of the constructs, the ways of thinking, the belief systems that keeps our lower self safe, all of the oh my gosh, the things that we've hung on to and clung on to, as we begin to release. It doesn't mean we have to let go of everything, but to release our attachment to it, our belief systems that say that we have to have this to be happy, or that I'm lacking in this, I'm lacking in that, therefore I have to have this, I need to hang on to this, I'm not deserving of this, I'm not worthy of that. All of these different things, we let go, we let go, we let go, so that we can embody more and more soul. So more and more of the truth can be with us here in the 3D, instead of all of this trapped stuff that is, and distortion, as I call it, that is keeping us in the small self and keeping us unable to align with the higher self and the levels of the higher self and the multidimensionality. So we start to let go of the egoic structures of the mind, and we let go of the emotionality that goes along with the fear of all levels of fear. And then we begin to develop trust and non-attachment. So we don't want to attach to the things and to the ideas and to the judgments and the preferences. We begin to let go and let go and let go to allow more soul to come in. So non-attachment is a really, really big part of this, presence and non-attachment. And so last week I talked about the moment to moment and allowing life to bring to you anything that's unlike your truth, which it will, organically and naturally. When we stop trying to control everything and we get a little still, practice a little meditation and stillness and presence, then these things are going to naturally come to us and bubble up in order for us to process. They've been unprocessed, they've been untrue, they are coming to us to alchemize, to transmute, to turn back into the truth, which is always love and loving and supportive. But they were uncomfortable. We weren't able to process. We've tried to control. So it's something to learn, to trust that I'm going to go ahead and be with this feeling, and then I will be able to release it and just ask for revelation, or bring it to contemplation with presence through the soul, through the heart. How does love see this? How can I see this differently now? So that you're bringing light to it, the unconscious to the conscious as it's released. So you don't have to relive that, and a little bit more of the soul can be here with you, helping to direct you again. Your soul is the fastest path to everything you want, because your soul is in the 4th, 5th, 6th dimensions. And the 6th dimension in particular, as you collapse the 4th into the 5th and the 6th, they all come together. That 6th dimension is your parallel reality. It is everything that's in your vortex, as Abraham Hicks puts it. Everything that you've desired that here on the, in your world, that anything that you don't like creates what you do want up there in the parallel world. And you might be able to manifest it, but it's big because it's going to draw you, you're going to want it. But again, if you're manipulating it in a way that's not as source sees it, that's not in alignment, that will want to fall away, and the source will bring you what truly is what you want, because it doesn't miss. Your soul knows better than you what's best for you, for your evolution, and for what it is that is in your highest and best good, and in harmony with everyone else as well, of course. This is all in harmony. So to bring yourself into harmony is to bring yourself into coherence between the heart and the mind, bringing presence. So back to manifesting. Rather than holding the thought of what it is that you want and then emotionalizing it as much as you can, bringing as much positive emotion and trying to do this all externally, and then needing to hold on to it and control it to keep it. Instead, it's letting go of the things that are unlike your intention, allowing these things to come and to pass through, knowing what your intention is. Your soul already knows exactly what that is. You don't have to create it in your mind, because that's from the lower self, thinking that it knows. Your mind thinks that it knows, your ego, I should say, that lower self, thinks that it knows what's best for you and what it needs to look like to be in your highest and best, to bring you what you desire. But your soul knows better. It knows the shortest path, the best path, and exactly what that is for you. And not only for its development, but for you, for your best and highest alignment, regardless of whether or not you have any idea what that is. So there's this surrendering of the beliefs. There's this surrendering of control. There is this surrendering of attachment. And this brings you up and up and up and collapses the duality, all that fear-based thinking of all those things, the lack, the attachment, the control, starts to bring you up, 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 up into that courage, that willingness, that acceptance, and then to love, and to unconditional love, and to joy and peace. These are where everything is done for you, and your timelines are shortening from where you are and where you want to be. It's all collapsing into that fifth dimensional space of the new earth. This is living from the heart, from the higher heart, even in this love and unconditional love. The fifth dimension, as it was spoken in the last video was the interview, so it was before that some of these things I've been referring to. But the higher heart is really where you're going to find that fifth dimension. Really, they said between 525 and 560 or something like that in terms of the consciousness scale that they measure. So it's up in this area, and this is where I did another video where I talked about the fourth dimension and the sixth dimension being basically mirrors. This is your physical reality, and this is your non-physical higher self reality. It's actually a more complex fractalized version, but it's got everything that you want in it. It's your parallel reality. It's huge, right? This one here. And so when this collapses, this one comes into being. Just sinks right into being in that fifth dimensional space. So we're letting go of all of these things. And meanwhile, your soul is attracting and bringing to you everything you want. So how do we attract it in now? Instead of doing and holding on to and manipulating, now we're drawing in. We're becoming magnetic. We're becoming so aligned and present in the moment. And in that moment-to-moment balancing of being present with what's coming up to be cleared and allowing that to happen, and we stay present and we surrender into that moment and just say, okay, soul, what action is it that I need to take? Or what do I do next? What is it for me to do next? And you start to feel the binary nature of your subconscious, which is in every cell of the body, that starts to actually impulse a yes or a not yes as to whatever you ask it. So do I take this action? Is this the best thing for me? Do I take this action? And so you give it a question. Is it this? Do I do this? Do I do this? And you can actually start feeling it in your body. This is where I use muscle testing for that, right? If I'm not sure, if I can't feel that impulse strongly, I actually muscle test. Is this in my highest and best? Is this in my highest and best? Do I go this direction? Do I go that direction? And you start to surrender more and more and more. So the most uncomfortable part about this is it's exactly the opposite of your ego. Your ego wants control, and it only knows what it knows, and it wants safety, and it keeps you in this box. And the soul is trusting in the unknown. It's total faith walk and coming to know that it has your best interest always at heart. And you don't know what that next thing is going to be, or what is going to come up for you to let go of or to lean into. You don't know if there's a lesson for you or if you're there to help be a lesson for someone else. You just stay so present to it, and you learn to discern between your small self and your higher self. Which one is in control here? Is it the ego or is it my soul? Whatever level of soul. You could call it God, you could call it the universe, you could call it your masters or your guides or whatever, your oversoul. It's all levels of the same thing. We're all one. We are all one. We are just a kind of a fractalized, smaller piece of the all. And we are now currently all moving back into the whole. We are on that upward swing now as a planet, as a universe. It's cyclical, right? It's cyclical. And so we are moving up the cycle now where there's more and more light coming in, and it's more and more soul coming in, and it's pushing out the distortions. It's making things a little less comfortable until you learn these things that I've been teaching. This is what awakening is. We are awakening to our truth, to who we really are, and coming to know what that is, coming to presence with what that feels like and how to work with that, and to recognize and believe and have so much excitement that as you move up the scale, you're going to have everything that you've ever wanted and what you didn't know you wanted or needed or what have you. And it won't even, by the time it's all manifesting, it's magical. It's just miracles. It just continues to get better and better. You don't even desire anything because you're in such gratitude and wonderment of what's just unfolding for you. So I promise you that going from one place to the next, it's a journey, it's a ride, it's a journey. And there's different things that might push you onto that journey faster or not, but it's usually going to be some level of struggle or discontent or dis-ease or some degeneration that gets so uncomfortable that you finally are pushed to surrender and to let go and begin this trust and this presence, and not working in time with the past and the future and recreating the past and trying to control the future, with depression and anxiety and all levels of these things. And without trying to just manifest everything down here in the 3D, but instead to learn to trust and to get into the present moment and to manifest via attraction by not pushing out your energy to try to focus and control outside, but drawing your energy back inward into learning to love yourself, to listen to yourself, to listen to your body, to honor who you are, to forgive yourself, to forgive others. Another big practice, right? I think I mentioned this one as well, ho'oponopono. I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. Constantly, whenever you're feeling that self-judgment or criticism or whatever, the difficulty, or even upon another, so much that you can do to actually undo and to release. And it's really rather simple, but it's not easy because we're so conditioned and so used to all of this external stuff and manifesting by doing all these other things. And that whole, law of attraction way, absolutely, especially when it was being, they started really, really teaching it and even hiding it in the early 1900s. And now we've already come around so much. There's so much awakening that's happening that people are really recognizing that oneness consciousness or unity consciousness is here now. And it's accessible to everyone now as you understand that interconnectedness, as you understand who you are in this universe and who you are, not only to others, but to your own self, to your higher self. Then you can begin to surrender and trust that, wow, I'm just a piece of the whole unfolding play. I'm just an aperture, an aspect of the all. How could I judge another? How could I even judge myself? It's all perfect and whole. But as I work in harmony with that, as I work in surrender and in harmony and choosing always with the soul, it's going to be in the highest and best for all. And so there's nothing but goodness to come from that. You don't even need to decide, is this right or wrong? Because when you go with soul, it's always right. It's always right. And it's always the fastest path to everything that's being held for you in that higher dimension, which you helped to co-create with your higher self. So there's no way to lose. It's just a dedication. It's a devotion. It's a devotion to that. So I hope this inspires you a little bit today and kind of put some of these pieces together with all these different things that I talk about, but in particular to make it more tangible as to why would I do this, right? I want to create something, and we all want to create and expand. And when it comes to free will choice, really our free will choice is we either go with soul or we go with the ego. And that's really it. We can go along with it and collapse duality and collapse all the distortions and bring in all the abundance and the wholeness, or we can go with the ego and take a pretty darn good chance that that is going to continue to fragment and create more distortion and more things to reintegrate later. So that's the disintegrating path. So it's not about killing the ego, it's about bringing love to it. It's about bringing the mind through the heart to alchemize so that the ego can become useful to us for what it's meant to be, which is a much smaller thing than what we've made it, so that we can sanctify that ego and it can become just a useful tool to help keep us safe when we need it, but we can actually create through the heart with the soul. So we sanctify the ego and we work wholeheartedly from the soul through the heart. That's where we're all moving as a species, into the heart center. And yeah, so that's what I want to leave you with here today. And I hope that you are ready to move into that space. And if you need any help moving into that space, this is the work that I do. So check in the description box below. Of course, I love to remove heart walls and any of these belief systems and different things that are holding you back that you may not be conscious of, so we can hack at it a little faster. It has absolutely changed my life. And I hope that if it resonates with you, that it can also help to change yours. So thank you so much. I will see you in the next video. And until then, have a great rest of your day.